but turn it all around.
Good day and welcome to Apostate Coalition. This is a collaboration channel raising awareness about the culture surrounding organized religion. I am Ryan, and today my host Jonathan and I will be talking to our guests about a series of upcoming events that I am sure you're going to be interested in called Protect Every Child Week. Hey, Jonathan, it's great to see you tonight. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you as well.
And our guest of this evening will be Katie and Brian. Hello, Katie and Brian. Thank you so much. We're really interested in this event that is going on and can't wait to hear more about it.
Good. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Just so everybody knows a little bit of background, I know Katie a little bit. We've spoken before. You've even been on a show that I used to host called Pious Placebo, and we became fast friends through TikTok. And part of that, I think, is just because some of the culture surrounding like our religion, your religion is so similar. And I would love if you guys could introduce yourselves a little bit, and then maybe we could kind of just talk briefly about how this project came together, because this is going to change a lot of things, not only by raising awareness, but I think this is going to pave the way. So Katie, tell me a little bit about yourself, since nobody else might know you. I do, but nobody else might.
Okay, well, I was raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Mormons. And then I was excommunicated because everybody thought that I had seduced a member of the bishopric, which is like the pastorship. I went in as a whistleblower saying something's going on between this father-daughter relationship and I don't like it. They called it an affair, abandoned me to him. I ended up being married to him for 10 years, got back into the church. And then I have now resigned the church as of last month after spending 20-something more years in the church. And it was over this issue of children being hurt by LDS interviews and the whole protecting predators thing.
Right.
And I'm not feeling well, so if I'm pretty quiet, that's what you're going to get. So.
There's a lot going on right now in the background. So what I thank you for, I know what you're going through right now. You've told us, so I'm it's really amazing that you're here, because this is so important. Brian, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, we appreciate it.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well, I've always been concerned about abuse, but unfortunately, I've got brought into this cause in the worst way. I had a 14-year-old son. We had just moved to a new neighborhood in the Las Vegas area. And with that, with Mormons, when you move, you have to go to a new congregation. So for us, it was a required new congregation that we went to for the Mormon church. And we'd been there not long, a couple of months, and seen a couple of boys down the street playing street hockey. And I had a 14-year-old son, and I said, well, why don't you go down and play street hockey with these two boys and make some new friends, which he did. And anyways, when it was time to go to Boy Scouts at the church, Mormon church, and I said, well, it's time to go to Scouts. Why don't you invite your two new friends and go to Boy Scouts at the church? And so he did. And I remember that moment when those three boys riding off on their bikes, because the church was, just around the corner, about a block away. It was like a celebration amongst those three boys as they rode off from our house to go to Boy Scouts. After my son returned back from Boy Scouts, he came to me and he said, Dad, as soon as we arrived, one of my new friends became terrified. And I said, well, why was that? And he didn't know. He said, I just don't know, Dad. And tragically, I found out why too late. And the reason why that boy became terrified, that new friend, is because boys in the church, the Mormon church, were calling him faggot at school. Something had been going on for a very long time, to the point where this young man, a 14-year-old, I think 13, or he was 13 at the time, was actually suicidal. So while they were at the church, what I found later on is this new friend of his, when he became terrified, he hid behind my son, who had just turned 14. And with that, it made him their new target. So from that point on, well documented, my son started being called faggot by boys at the church. And this went on for months, well documented through chat logs and witnesses. They brought it to a school, and then it got online. So after about 4 months of this, it wore on my son's mental health, that amongst other things in the church. And eventually, even the day before he ended his own life, he died of suicide. The day before he made that decision, he was called faggot by an LDS peer 80 times the day before he ended his own life. So obviously, it's well documented. It's in chat logs. And the church leaders, we wanted them to address and correct those, the abuse and correct those involved, which they said they would initially. But they went and they got with the church attorneys, it's called the Bishop's Hotline in the Mormon church. And once they got a hold of them, it's defend the church at all costs. So from that point on, they did absolutely aggressively refused to do any investigation and any correction. They literally became angry, red-faced angry, in both my wife and my face, in our efforts to get our son's abuse addressed. So that started me on this painful journey of understanding the harm of religion, at least the Mormon one, very clear. And what I come to find out is it's a very harmful environment. One note before we move on, my son in his suicide note specifically blamed the Mormon church for his end-of-life decision, and his dying wish is that our family would leave the church. So it couldn't be any clearer. And the night before he died, in the chat logs, he said what he believes is harming him, his exact words. So I did a lot of research to understand that, and what that brought me to is, yes, there is so much harm found in the Mormon church and at other churches, other churches as well, from what I'm finding out.
Wow. So you really did the work. Like after
I've
this
done a lot of work.
happened.
The journey for me to understand that with clarity, it was a very painful journey. Not only did I lose a son to suicide, that's terribly painful, but I also had my church come at me with aggression, real aggression, to where I went through a faith crisis, very painful. So I laid in bed for literally years trying to understand what happened to my family, good Mormon family, right? Doing everything we're supposed to.
Right.
From that to completely destroyed, that very painful. But in that, I did a lot of meditation and a lot of research, which gave me a deep understanding of how these harms affect children from religion.
Right. Because no matter, I am under the impression, at least, that no matter what religion you are, when there's dogma that encourages people to judge others in the means that your son was judged, that it is harmful. It's not, your son was right, and I'm so thankful that you had the courage to take this journey, because it's a huge. This separates families, and I'm sure you've seen it, and I know, Jonathan, you've seen it, that religion easily tears people apart and encourages it, but yet here you are in your family. I'm assuming the entirety of your family found the courage to do the work and realize, you know what, this isn't right. And beyond that, you're now doing huge events like this. I mean, so that's a huge step. Like, you helped yourself, but now you're helping others. That's amazing.
That's the goal, to try to make a change and to do for other children what was not done for my son, to try to make a change that will protect the next child. And I do this not, in honor. I have no other way to serve my son, but to try to protect others from what happened to him. That's my only way at this point to be enough service to him to honor his sacrifice, his loss, from what wasn't done to protect him.
Right. Because it's not always in our wheelhouse until we learn these things, right? We're not taught how to be a parent.
Sometimes you just don't know.
No, we're really not taught. So I'm sorry, Jonathan, were you saying something?
I just want to say I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah.
And it's good that you can take a terrible situation and use it to heal yourself.
It is therapeutic.
to make it, something good out of a terrible situation, and to
Right.
help others. So that's appreciated.
Yes. Thank you.
And again, like to do all that, but then to push it forward and now kind of inspire other people to do the same and to speak out and share their stories, because we're all going through it. We might not realize it until we hit that wall, that breaking point, whatever it might be. And like, oh,
You know something, from the beginning of this journey, and this started in 2014 is when my son died. But to see the change and the level of activism and the level of people coming out to share their story and to speak out against the harm being brought, it's increased tenfold since I've started this journey. And there's been many good other advocates along the way. Sam Young being one of them, excellent advocate. He's done so much for me. There's been a lot of them that have joined this cause, and it's gonna change. Things are gonna change.
Yes. And the more people are encouraged to speak out by, seeing other people demonstrate what they've gone through. Katie, you've been so inspiring. You've shared a lot of your story and everything that you and your children, your family have been through on TikTok. And it's difficult to bare your soul like that. But I do feel like it is healing. I think it can be very healing and cathartic to know that you're not alone in this. You've been through something, Brian, so tragic, but you can come through the other side knowing that hopefully there's going to be so many other people who won't have to go through this because of, your son's, being able to educate you, really, showed you the way that you needed to educate yourself and hopefully educate others. I would love to, Jonathan, do you think maybe we should pull up because I would love to get into a bit of the meat of because I don't know what exactly is happening, but I am like, I need to know, because I have to, we might have to plan this for the Jehovah's Witnesses. Haha.
Okay. Let's see. Maybe this would be better. Yeah, that's better, I think.
Yeah, that's fine. So it's on Facebook. It says 5 days of events.
That's Protect Every Child
like
Facebook page there. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just on it looks more condensed probably on here.
Yeah, I used to have 2 monitors for a while, and one died, so now it's just on one big TV, and it's a little more confusing.
Okay. The layout's always different. Every device, the layout is different, just to make it easier for you.
So, there's quite a few people that have been involved in this. It looks like 13,000.
Oh wow! Oh, see y'all. This is
may I ask,
awesome.
how long has this been? When was this first established?
Around
is this like
2018, right, Ryan?
Okay.
I think it was 2016, 2017, somewhere in there. No, it would have been a little bit later, maybe like 2018.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I got in 2019, and they did it was called Protect LDS Children, and they took their stories to the LDS church headquarters where we're going to be, and presented it to them there at the office building, and they were more concerned about people touching the building than about taking the book.
They were. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Please don't touch the building.
Don't touch our building. Don't touch our building. Here we are talking about a serious matter, and they could only focus on us touching their building, and these were almost all former Mormons that have paid 6 figures into this church, and they're worried, it's their building. It's like there's no respect for the money that we put into that building ourselves. I know I put over 6 figures into the Mormon church.
Interesting that they don't say it's God's building. Don't touch my building.
Yeah.
What I mean? Like, don't touch God's building.
We know that these groups like to collect real estate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they do. Mormon Church is the largest landowner in Florida. You know that. They're a very wealthy church.
No, I did not know that, but now I do know that.
Yep, they have $130 billion plus investment fund, just one fund, $130 billion. Wow. So yeah, extremely wealthy church. But yeah, they're worried about us touching their building. One point to make. It says protect every child. Originally it was the LDS, but Sam Young changed that to protect every child to include other faiths, Jehovah's Witnesses and the Catholics, other
It's
people.
wise.
So this is why he took the LDS out of that and he changed it to protect every child, to include our good Jehovah's Witness friends as well.
We'll take it.
I love that. Yes. I honestly, I think the more that we all, this is things that we can kind of come together, because they say sometimes we're not really organized, just like, the religion has a lot of money and power and organization and lawyers behind them, but we're not necessarily so organized. So I feel like the more that we kind of come together and see our similarities, that we can start to break down these walls. Absolutely. So who came up with this concept?
Brian.
So this
was
is your
my
this
idea.
is your oh
It
awesome.
It really is. And really,
That's
where
amazing.
these conversations, these talking points came from, the 5 days, I informed you that I laid in bed for years, literally pondering what happened to my son. How could this happen to us, a good Mormon family who was doing what we're supposed to, paying our tithing, going to church every week, gave our son a kiss every single night and told him we loved him. And really, the night that he died, the day he died, I'm thinking, how could this have happened to our family? How did this happen to us? And we gave a lot of love to him every single night. Gave him a kiss goodnight, told him we loved him. But what I didn't understand was the things I was doing was harming him. I was making him go to a church where he was being harmed, and I wasn't listening carefully enough. I was making him do worthiness interviews that were harming him. Just a couple of things. So what a good Mormon parents are instructed to do is what I was doing, and this is directly what harmed him. So I came to understand through a lot of meditation and a lot of research how children are being harmed, and that is the foundation of this week, talking points.
Can you tell me, because I don't know what a worthiness interview is, and I think our viewers may want to know what that is.
Do we want to go down the list of different topics and
let's go through that, and then we can come back to some of the let's do that. Go through what these days and the topics and like how they are discussed as their speakers or how this goes, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, the first day of subject is abuse policy. And again, this is why my son ended his own life, is abuse, the largest contributor. Obviously, during that time, I tried to find just one reason why he chose suicide. But really, it's a contributors. They have to be weighted contributors, as the only way I was able to nail it all down is to understand. And this is what the mental health professionals will tell you as well. It's complex, and it's often more than one topic, and this is true. The largest contributor to my son's end of life decision is abuse at church. Being called faggot almost every day, very harmful. He was also hazed and mocked as well. He was the youngest child in his youth group. It was his first week when the abuse started in his youth group, the 14 to 16-year-old group. But also he was brand new to the congregation, what we call a ward as well. So very new. And in that, he was being hazed and mocked and ultimately called faggot, very harmful. I could see I have it nailed down through to the very date where this abuse started. And I could see by reading his chat logs, I could see a deterioration. And unfortunately, this is after he's already gone. I'm reading logs. Right. And I can see a deterioration of his mental health starting at the very moment that this abuse started. I come to learn just how abusive harmful abuse is. And with that, I did a lot of research, and religious people think I'm just out to get the church, but my wife and I spent years lobbying the Nevada legislature to pass new bullying awareness laws as well, which they did. We went to Carson City, Nevada, the capital, lobbying the legislators there multiple times. And they passed almost everything that we asked them to their credit. I went to the church during that same time frame and asked them to do the same exact things, and they aggressively refused because it would increase liability for the church to have that policy. And there's very clear reasons why they won't adopt policy, but we'll talk about that as we go.
Right.
So
Okay.
on this Monday, it's sort of like open mic, Rion. So noon to
Okay.
so anybody can come, but that's the topic for the day. So, if you
Yes.
don't want to hear us drone on the live stream, show up and talk.
Yeah.
Right. And
So-
it looks as though it'll be live streamed on Facebook. I just want everyone to know that because that sounds amazing. So that way you can, even if you can't be there, you can be there.
You can still be supporting and
Right.
Sure. Learning.
That is a big part of the Protect Every Child events. Is the Facebook presence is very large. So as you know, not everybody can afford to get to Salt Lake. So your participation, your comments there do carry weight, and that support is welcomed.
Yes.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So just for clarity for that first day, so we'll be discussing why they refuse to address abuse. There's going to be a conversation on that. I'm going to get into further detail on what they did that harmed our family after the abuse happened. What they do, the policy is so harmful. So we're going to get into that. But also we're going to discuss what is good policy as well. And then we're going to give an open mic to abuse victims. And this is open to children from all churches, because we know a lot of churches are following the same good legal advice that attorneys are giving the church leaders.
And there's a big difference between what they say in their statements after another one of the fan and what they actually do. It's day and night.
Oh, I'm sure. They don't ever. What boggles my mind is that if they think that there's anything that you've done that they consider sin, you need to, in my opinion, grovel for forgiveness. But when it comes to any harm that they've done, it's just like, well, we're not perfect.
Right.
It's extreme arrogance there. Extreme arrogance.
Mm-hmm. They don't treat the harms the same. So for day number 2, so the 26th, that's 10 days from now. That starts Monday, you said?
Yes.
Okay.
It does.
So is each day open mic?
It is. Yes.
Oh, okay.
An open
Oh
mic
my
every
God,
day.
that's going to be so awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what's going to happen is Katie and myself, we're going to share a message every day, which I've got this all planned out. And really, it's going to be what I've learned during those painful moments. I'm trying to understand my son's end of life decision. A lot of what I'm going to say, but also through my lobbying efforts and a whole lot of research and studying. Each day I'll share that, and also how it applied to my son's end of life decision. But from that point afterwards, it's going to be open mic to people from all churches who want to come and testify of the harm that came to them from the topic being discussed.
Wow. That's going to be a lot of people being able to not only hear others that have similar experiences, but hopefully feel comfortable in sharing theirs if they've not, because not everybody's capable. Not everybody feels comfortable doing that, but it gets easier the more you do it. So, wow, that really, open mic.
Something else, it's also very healing when you're given a mic and you're given a stage to share your story and to be heard. The church doesn't give that to you. They want to silence your voice. Right. They want you to simply repent for being unforgiving of your perpetrator without no justice. Mm-hmm. This is what the church wants.
Yeah.
You're read my mind there, Brian.
Yeah.
Speaking out is evil speaking of the Lord's anointed, and you make a covenant in the temple never to do that. And so it is viewed as being evil to speak the truth about what these leaders are doing.
Mm.
But
you're expected to just forgive.
It keeps happening. I mean, forgiveness isn't enough.
No, there's a pattern here, and we can't absolve them from the pattern that they've created. This is not our pattern. This is their pattern they've created, and it's time to address it.
Well, you do know that the church directly benefits from the perpetrator, the victim forgiving the perpetrator and having unity. They asked me to do a unity. Here I have a dead son with no justice, and they're wanting me to find unity with these abusers,
right?
That my son's literally dead from, and I'm not the first one. This is what they do, but the church benefits from that, because when you have conflict and contention within a congregation, often one half will leave, and now there's less tithe money and less power. So the church has a direct benefit from the the victim forgiving the perpetrator. And in that effort to preserve that money and power, and they run right over the top of the mental health of the victim for their own selfish pursuit.
Yeah, they've set up these policies so they benefit no matter.
They benefit from these unity meetings, these forgiveness sessions, with no justice and no repentance.
That sounds very familiar to what we've experienced, because we see on the broadcasts in Jehovah's Witnesses where they say, why not just let yourself be harmed or let yourself be defrauded, because we want to keep unity in the congregation and we don't want this to look badly on Jehovah and his organization. Yeah. It's all to their benefit.
Yeah.
Yep. Because if people go to the police or try to sue one another or whatever the case might be, it gets out into the public. So they have to throw money at it to make it go away. So it costs them that way, but it's also bad press and they don't want that. And I wanted to say one other thing about the abuse policy. It's one thing to address bad policies, but then you're not going to get anywhere without solutions. So talking about the ways to improve is going to be very beneficial.
Yep. Right. I have a very clear path to how to improve, and I have other experts that will come and join me if the church is willing to listen. But at this point, they haven't been.
Hopefully this will change that.
Yeah, I hope so. I just, it's like religion is probably always going to be here. So why not make it better? Why not improve on it? What's the need to cause the harm when you can help people? I don't understand it. I'm sure that they know exactly why they're doing, but.
Well, people ask, well, Brian, you've left the church. Why don't you just leave it alone? But the truth is I have family still in the church. I have a lifetime of friends. My whole culture is Mormon. I grew up Mormon. All my cousins, my parents, my aunts, uncles, my closest friends, my closest friends. Guess what? They're still all Mormon. And for me some of their children are coming to me, and they're coming to me, and they're telling me all the harm, serious harm that's come upon them. And for me to pretend that they're not being harmed and just get and leave the church alone, to me, that would be immoral. I have a moral duty to speak out,
right.
Just as Christ spoke out, did he not? There was a problem and he spoke out. So isn't this what a Christian is supposed to do? Speak out.
He was flipping tables.
Exactly. So
that was okay.
Somebody set me up a table at this event because I want to flip that thing. Somebody give me a table to knock over. Well,
gonna pull a Jesus and just flipping tables. No, but it is an excellent point. He didn't hold back. He said what needed to be said, regardless of who you were, what position you were. Were you a Pharisee? Were you a Sadducee? It didn't matter to him. He thought what was right, and he was going to say what was right. And that's exactly what you and your team, whoever, all who's setting this up, making this happen, it's righting wrongs. It's letting people know this is not right. This is what's happening. And the fact that you also have solutions is really so important. Again, this is really setting the groundwork for hopefully maybe other religions to follow suit.
Well, the focus of this is just what is the truth. It's not unimportant who I am. And it's unimportant who anybody is. What is important is what is true. And that is the focus of this event, is what is true. And it's pretty easily proven that what their policies are harming children and adults alike. It's easily provable. So really, it's not going to be a moment just to yell and get angry. It's going to be a moment to point out hard truths, undeniable truths, that some of their policies are harming people, that they need to change that. It's not about who I am or me saying it. It's the message is what's important here. The truth is what is important.
So for Tuesday, the LGBTQ harm, and I mean that, for instance, with what you experienced, you and your family experienced, and what your son experienced, these religions foster these environments.
They do.
Those children got that they got the permission from their religion. Religion didn't have to say, go calling people this word, but the religion fostered an environment and ideologies that led these children to speak this way. to do this. So there's a lot of harm being done by how these religions are demonizing people, human beings, just for existing. So what is going to be like, what about LGBTQ harm would you like to say specifically from Mormonism that will be spoken about on that day?
Well, I grew up in the Mormon church, and you're right. The messaging was terribly corrosive for any child that has gay, feelings. And truthfully, most of my life, although I didn't go out and attack anybody, I had some of those same prejudices simply, taught me and indoctrinated in me. So I understand where the religious people are coming from, because I grew up having that happen to me. But obviously, one of the reasons that this is a topic is my son was called faggot every day for months. And I went and I read almost every teen suicide story I could read in bed. And what I found is that word kept coming up over and over again in teen suicide stories. Yes. And almost as much, not quite as much, but the words slut and hoe, those were heavy contributors as well. Very heavy. So I realized that this was unacceptable, to the point where I actually wrote the church leaders and asked them to make this a serious matter. I wrote them a couple of times, and they just didn't respond. They're in their high tower, and so they don't listen. The other thing is I had to also de-indoctrinate myself a little bit, deconstruct some of those homophobic beliefs that I was taught and believed. The Sodomites and the city of Sodom was destroyed because of Sodomites, and the whole spiel. But what I did is, with my son's death, I was forced to go and my journey to understand teen suicide, to investigate the topic further. And what I found is many of the children in these churches, they're wishing they weren't gay. They're wishing when they didn't have, same-sex attraction. Right. They're actually ashamed of it, and they tried to pray the gay away, and without success. So they had lost hope in God, and maybe even their belief in God. God won't help me. I prayed to him, and he doesn't answer my prayers. So maybe there isn't a God. It's extremely damaging. Also, what I learned is, which I never believed until I did the research, that there is actually a lot of science behind why children have same-sex attraction and adults.
Oh yeah, lots
and
of
much
science.
of that. Yeah, the two big points of that I discovered is in the womb, how much hormones were in the womb when a child's developing.
Yes.
It's hugely impactful on the rest of their life.
Different trimesters, different hormones through different trimesters.
Yeah,
yes,
definitely impactful. And what I found is that it affects the hormonal levels will affect the rest of their life. So also to the point where some of those hormonal levels, where children, like they're undetested, testicles that didn't drop, they're born and you got a girl on your hands, and then they later find out it's a boy. There's testicles where there should be ovaries. So what do we do? That's called intersex. So what are we going to do with that child? They didn't choose that, and it's nothing they chose. So why are we abusing these children? Also, you have children that are XXY. They're literally both. They're male and female. They have the genetic makeup of both. And sometimes we don't know who these people are, but all we want to do is the church wants to do is go and attack these children. We don't know what's going on in their body. So what are we doing here? So this is really the conversation I'm going to have. And, Christ said to judge not lest you be judged, but here they are condemning these children literally to death, cruelly. This must change. And that's part of why this is a topic. LGBT children are way more likely to be abused than all other children. And we got to change that and understand the science behind this. So that's why we're discussing that on September the 27th. And anybody from that community that wants to come and tell their story and try to find some healing, but also testify to church leaders, we welcome you to come down and strengthen the cause.
Yeah, go do it.
Good Jehovah's Witness, come on down. Good Baptist.
I hope so. Honestly,
come on down.
I hope
if I were in the area.
I
Come
know.
on
Oh
down.
my God! If I were there, I swear to
Well, I'm
goodness, if I'd
inviting
have
you.
realized
Come on down.
maybe next year I can attend, because that would be like, if we could get like a group of J-Dubs to come down and
Well,
be there with just
hey,
to
maybe
support and also add our voice. Oh my God, that would be epic.
maybe we'll be in New York
Gotta
for the
do
next
this.
one. We'll be in New York for the next one for the JW headquarters. What
Get
do you think?
outside the
Oh,
There you go.
that's not far from me.
And that's
Okay, well, looks like I'm coming next year. Okay.
and
Yeah,
that's
maybe I'll
kind of
be in
the
New York next year. You know.
and that's kind of been the whole thought process behind the Apostate Coalition, was way back when, thinking there's a lot of similarities between these groups.
Oh my
Maybe we
God,
could work
yeah.
together.
Same
So
playbook.
it fits like a glove, this what you have going on here, because it's people from different religious backgrounds that have been traumatized in different ways that can work together to make some change.
We can trauma bond together. I like trauma bonding. Honestly, it's a great feeling to know you're not alone.
It's all
you've
familiar
been to the
stuff.
low, and someone else has been there.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's get into Wednesday's worthiness interviews, because I had started out saying, I have
Ryan's
no
waiting
idea
for
what
this
a
one.
worthy. I want to know what a worthiness interview is, because I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
Brian, you want to role play? I'll be the young girl who's only 12, and you can be the bishop.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I can just ask you I'm sure a bunch of very personal questions is how it goes.
We'll do a little role playing here, but I'm going to do this in the righteous voice. Okay. So I'm going to do a little mock voice here. Sister Katie, have you been worthy? I got 2 important questions for you, Sister Katie. 2 important to finish up our worthiness interview. You just turned 12? Oh, good. Good. That's a good age. Just 2 more questions to finish up our worthiness interview. Katie, have you paid a full tithing?
Yes, Bishop.
Oh, good. Good. All right. And to finish up, let's ask you some more questions. Katie, have you been masturbating?
Oh, fuck me.
Oh my goodness.
What's that?
Oh, let me explain that to you in great detail. Have you been necking? Have you been petting? Have you had oral sex? Have you fornicated? Have you had anal sex? Have you, let's just get all the way down. Tell me all your secrets. I want all the juicy details. Sister Katie.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
It
starts at 8.
And you know what? We're joking about it, but it's literal. I was 12, and that's the interview. It's literal. I mean, it's right now we're joking it a little bit. We're trying to soften the pain from that, from a little bit of humor. But when I was 12, and I went in for a worthiness interview with my bishop. He was an attorney, and he came at me as a prosecutor, and he came at me with no love at all in that. And then, keep in mind, it's alone in a room with the bishop. You're all alone with him. Nobody else in there to put restraints on him. An untrained bishop, by the way. He has no training in mental health issues, no training in pastoral care in the Mormon church. He has no idea what he's doing. And, mental health professionals go for years for training to know how to interview people, but not these bishops.
And, the last time I went in, Brian, it was me and my husband and 2, because now they're saying, well, since there's 2 priesthood holders, this isn't going to happen. They were awful to me in front of my husband, these 2 men. So I felt like, I'm still the only woman in the fucking room.
Right.
And it's still not. It's
very
still
harmful.
Still uncomfortable. It's not a good place to be. You're being interrogated. It's like, just
You're
put you
being
under the
interrogated.
freaking lights. Yeah, that's
So
You're right. It is an interrogation. And I left that interrogation, what they call a worthiness interview. I left traumatized when I was 12 years old. And these continued. It's every 6 months you get one of those, sometimes even more often.
Oh, they're like scheduled.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Well, that's weird.
Birthday. Yeah.
Wait, what's that again? On your birthday?
Yeah. Around your birthday, for sure, you get one. And then if they're a really good bishop, they'll do it 6 months
Happy birthday.
Yeah. So
here's some weird interviews for you. Congratulations.
So that sounds like a business where you have to get like what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, a review.
Yeah, review.
You are very best being interviewed.
Am I going to get a raise? Yeah,
you're male, you get a promotion in the priesthood, right?
Okay, so these worthiness interviews, they start at age 8.
Yes.
Some of them
And
do.
are you aware, like as a child, do you know that that's going to be your day? Are you aware of when you're going to be pulled into that office?
No. Not
Oh
unless,
God.
I mean, it has to do with the secretary. If you have a really good secretary, yes,
Yeah.
it's scheduled, but a lot of times they just yank you out of class.
Yes.
And these also happen before any kind of temple trip. You have to get a limited use recommend. So anytime there's a temple trip or a track, any youth activity that requires leaving the building, they will do a worthiness interview. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. You know,
That's
and the thing is, when you're the thing is, when you're raised Mormon, everybody goes through these, and everybody regrets them, and most of the kids
it's
lie about.
normalized.
Yeah, so you just think
Yeah.
it's normal. I mean, and you know it's harming you, but everybody else is doing it, and it's just it's
Right.
what the culture does. So you go with the flow, and when you become a parent, it's just what Mormon people do, so you do it. You know,
And it's probably not like something that you like you're probably not as a parent talking to your child about what, were you comfortable? Were you on? It's probably
Right.
just like, were you good? Did you answer everything like you were supposed to answer? I'm assuming, but I'm thinking that it's not like an open subject where we're all just like talking about our worthiness interviews and how we felt, and let's have an open, honest dialogue about our emotions and how we felt throughout the thing. I'm sure it's probably like stuff it, shut it, forget it, hope you did good.
Yeah, and the
you
bishop
try to
can
get it out.
read your mind. He's got the
Yeah.
gift of discernment, so we can tell if you're lying.
Oh God.
Yep. You know, they call it the gift of discernment. Katie's correct. You know, you go into the interview, and often before the interview, as it's beginning, they'll tell you, yes, I have the gift of discernment, and I will know if you are lying. And here you are, a 12 or 13-year-old child, you know, it's mind games with you. And,
right.
you know, and now you're traumatized by that, and they're into your, you know, into your soul. And there's no privacy. There's no room for a child to develop correctly under that type of duress and that type of pressure. To the point of
I didn't know till I was an adult that people lied. I told the truth.
Yeah. And you know, that's the other thing.
Right.
You know, most Mormon children learn how to lie during the worthiness interviews. It's the lying is so prevalent, and really the ones that get the most harmed by these worthiness interviews are the children that are honest and have a conscience. The ones that most of the ones that just lie, it's not healthy, because all you're doing is promoting children learning how to lie and to not be true to themselves. It's actually more damaging. They're becoming less worthy in their.
You're learning how to respond appropriately. You're learning what you should be saying, what you should be thinking, and you're just trying so hard probably to stay within those boundaries, so that way you'll be
major attack on the conscience. Yes.
Yeah.
So I can think of, with Jehovah's Witnesses, there's a couple of different circumstances where you would have something similar. So if you commit some sort of a sin, you could have a judicial meeting, to where it would be normally 2 or 3 elders that would talk to you, and you could have those very probing questions, uncomfortable conversations there. They'll also ask you if you want to get married in a kingdom hall. The elder will ask you, so were you chaste? And, you know, if you're going to, you better say, yep, you know, in the dating process, because otherwise that's going to be a conversation. You're not going to be allowed to get married in the building. And normally, unless there's a specific reason that you wanted to, you know, get married someplace else, is usually people wonder, like, why didn't they get married in the hall? And suddenly people think maybe you did something.
They start to wonder.
Yeah.
Which you shouldn't be judging like that, but it's exactly what it fosters. It fosters you questioning what everybody else is doing.
And I'm pretty sure that if you were to apply for Bethel or you know, to be a pioneer or whatever, they're going to ask you questions and find out whether you're worthy to do those privileges. So that would probably could strike up another one of these very uncomfortable meetings. Right.
So this is, I mean, we don't have the just every regular 6-month checkup that you would have in your ex church, but the Jehovah's Witnesses certainly do have a system where they take you to a back room. They have private discussions with you, with children. Sometimes these private discussions again, are about abuse. They make people face their abusers head on, children facing adult abusers. Where like if it's not admitted, like if something improper happened, if the perpetrator does not admit to it, there's nothing that can be done because there's rules, there's policies. They have an abuse policy where you have to have 2 witnesses to any kind of
Yeah.
abuse. Yeah. So we have a lot of things in common when it comes to what happens behind closed doors, or not everybody is privy to the specialized abuse that's happening, the questions that are being asked, the probing, just like you were saying, Brian, about masturbation, anal sex. I mean, you name it, they're asking all those. Did you enjoy it? They love that question, and then they ask that question to people who have been abused, which is absolutely grotesque.
Yep.
To even ask that kind of question.
You know what? And the Mormon leaders ask you, have you pondered your responsibility in your abuse? So that they directly ask you to, what was your contribution to your own abuse? And
if you did something, yeah.
Exactly. So.
And what
It's
would you
horrendous,
say?
and it gets normalized. Basically, this is horrendous behavior that it just becomes normal because you're told this is how it goes. Everybody's doing it. Everybody finds it acceptable. And if you don't, you're outside of the norm. Something's wrong with you.
You're going to be attacked.
Something
else?
Exactly.
In my mock interview with Katie, I did joke, and I want all the juicy details. That really that's truthful. For often, if you fornicated, they want to know the color of, above the underwear, below. I mean, at what angle did you like it? Did you orgasm? They ask. I mean, they're going to go. They're going to give every question in the book. So they are seeking juicy details. And
it's
their
perverted
effort to help you repent. But I wonder, what's in that some of those bishops' minds. I think a lot of them are good men, just not understanding the harm they're causing. But I think it's been proven actually that some of them actually do enjoy those juicy details.
Yes. Honestly, I would think it's probably half and half, if not more, that enjoy what goes on behind this. Yeah.
So
exactly.
There could be some perverts out there for sure.
When I was working on coming back into the church, my bishop had to know my whole sexual history, every single thing I could recall. And I think we spent months going through everything I could think of that was a sin. And I met with him twice a week for at least an hour.
I gotta go.
Meeting.
I can't. Oh my God.
It's that bad. If you get it,
it's so disgusting.
Yeah. They do it, and Katie's story is not a one-off. It's extremely common.
No.
They're going to call you back if you've sinned. They're going to have you back once or twice a week to give more details, and very common.
So humiliating.
I'm so sorry.
Totally.
Yes, the shame, the guilt,
and so
this is stuff that people die from. You know what I mean? This is.
Standing out on the street sidewalk or going on TikTok and telling this is nothing compared to being stuck in the room with these judgmental men. I mean, that's.
I would tell my story a million times over before I would ever go back into the back room with those elders.
Yep.
Like you said, Brian, people who are not trained whatsoever, no kind of nothing.
You know what? You make the point that children are dying over these things, and you're absolutely correct. A couple of points. Sam Young, he got over, I think, thousands of testimonies from people, and he says over half had suicide ideation from these worthiness interviews. And, in my son's case, it was the second heaviest contributor to his end-of-life decision. I remember when he was 12, and I took him to do this worthiness interview. And I remember that after it happened, I was taking him to a band event at his school. And I remember something had changed in his demeanor, and I didn't understand what was going on at 12. And he died when he was just over 14. And about 2 weeks before he died, he was asked to come in and do a worthiness interview. And he aggressively refused to do that. And me being the foolish, faithful father following church instructions, instructed him, just do it and get it over with. It's no big deal, is what I told him. And he aggressively didn't want to do that worthiness interview. but I did what Mormon parents do. And,
Right.
If you're found unworthy during that worthiness interview, you're instructed to not partake of the sacrament. And that's a very public event, to partake of the sacrament. The sacramental tray, or a communion, is what other religions call it. The sacramental tray comes by, and if you don't take the bread, you don't partake of the bread, and everybody's watching. Guess what? Everybody knows what you're not worthy. And now it becomes a public shaming, not just now. My son, literally the night before he died, in the Mormon church, 12 to 14-year-olds, they passed the sacrament in the Mormon religion. And my son was asked to pass the sacrament the day before he died, and he refused to do it. He aggressively refused. And I was terribly confused by that. And he didn't want to partake of the sacrament either. But my son was a very conscientious young man. He'd be, it would burn on him to be shamed. And, so he wasn't passing the sacrament after this worthiness interview, and he wasn't partaking this. He didn't want to partake of it either. This harmed his mental health tremendously. And I had no idea what was going on. I just knew he was upset, and I said, and we got home, I said, what did you do this for? Why did you act like this? This is not what we do at church. Is what I told him the day before he killed himself. Me trying to be the father, attentive father, but all I did is make things worse with my religious indoctrination. Instead of asking really why, he would have been too embarrassed anyways. Yeah, the shame they put around these things.
Yeah. Well, they train us to be religious first, and to be followers of God first, and to put the church above everything, and parenting comes second. So we're doing what we think is the right thing to do, and which is why, again, this is so important, that other people can look in the mirror and see themselves in your story, and hopefully make some decisions that can change their life for the better. So let's get into Thursdays, if you don't mind. Issues of conscience, because I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what issues of conscience means, but what exactly does that mean for you? Yes, in its context for your organization, for your ex-organization, what that means.
Well, a big part of Mormonism, it's even the founding of Mormonism, is the scripture, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith. And this is the founding of the Mormon religion. Joseph Smith went and he prayed to know which church to join. And the church promotes this idea of, seeking the truth. The problem is, and that is an exciting and healthy message. But what happens when you go and you seek that truth and it doesn't line up? What you're being told through that effort does not line up with what the church is teaching. Now you're at war with yourself now. And if you have any kind of, resistance, or, any kind of, you deter anywhere from what the church leaders are telling you to believe, you're in danger of being disfellowshipped, excommunicated. And often with that comes an excommunication, a divorce from your spouse. It could be a disownment from your family. It could be a lost employment if you're in Utah and heavily in the Mormon community. And also, if you find out, as an example, the Mormon religion taught me and Katie our whole lives that Joseph Smith translated the Book of Mormon off of golden plates using seer stones. That was the message we were taught. They had illustrations. They showed, for our entire life. But in more recent times, the truth is coming out. He looked into a hat and used a stone, right? This is the new truth. So now you're finding out that what you believed wasn't true as taught. And now if that's a lie, then what else is a lie? And often for people, they don't know if there's even a God anymore. It takes them all that was a lie, then maybe this is a lie too. And if that's a lie, then it's the domino effect, where you basically it knocks down all your dominoes. Now you got to start from square one. Is there a God, right? So to have your whole worldview dumped on its head with the duress of being divorced, disowned, losing your job, this is very harmful to mental health, to the point of literally of suicide. I've had multiple friends harmed by this. They came to me and told me that this is harming them. This is not healthy, and it's harming children too. Because I've had a friend's daughter. I found out she was, that she was having a faith crisis. She's 16, and it's harming her too, damaging her mental health. Where I sent her a private message. I said, "Are you okay? And are you thinking about suicide?" I started checking up on her mental health. And so it's extremely harmful. So that's why we got to discuss this. We can't ignore the harm when you're attacking somebody's conscience. A cognitive dissonance is what many call it, or a shelf breaking. In the Mormon community, they say you put your doubts on a shelf, but there comes to a point where that shelf breaks. Now it's an avalanche. Instead of one question at a time being answered, it's an avalanche. Very harmful.
If your faith is rocked by new information that hard,
it is.
And what do you really what did you really have? What foundation of a belief did you really have? If it's just supposed to be, to me, faith should just be, okay, there's a guy, Jesus. Life is going to get better because we believe in him. He loves us. He forgave us. Keep doing what you're doing. Have a great day. But if, because that's to me like how simple I would see it. But in these religions, everything has to be as it is said, because that's how they teach it to you. So when there's deviation from that plan, and that little string starts to pull away from the sweater, and eventually you just get like this little tank top that's left because all the arms have fallen off because of all the strings that are coming loose. If your faith is so, I don't know, to me it seems very flimsy that the only way you can have faith is by believing every single detail that you've been told. To me, it shouldn't be like that. That's just how I see it.
They've definitely come out and said that you cannot have a la carte Mormonism. It's all or nothing.
See, that's probably how I would prefer to do it, a la carte. But yeah.
Something else, what makes this even more harmful is in the Mormon belief that you go to the temple, through a worthiness interview, you got to be completely worthy. You go to the temple and you're sealed to your family for time and all eternity. But if you're not worthy, guess who loses their family forever in the eternities? So now and the thing is, you have to pay a full tithing and go to all your church meetings and do everything the church leaders tell you, or you're not worthy to go to the temple. And if you're not worthy to go to the temple, then you lose your family, your entire family for all eternity. You lose them forever. So now you have a bunch of Mormon mothers out there terrified to have a child that's going off the path just a little bit. And she's terrified she's going to lose her child forever. So it's so harmful, and it's harming her mental health. And now she's responding to the child in a way that is harmful. And, when I had to leave it, when I left the church, I had to grapple with that. Am I going to lose my son that he just died? Am I going to lose him forever? Am I going to lose my wife forever? I had to work through that. It's very harmful to have to navigate that, especially when you just lost a child to suicide.
I was lucky. I had an abusive family. So, when I was growing up and they're like, we can be together forever. I'm like, that's not as appealing as you think it is. I don't think so. So, yeah, it was harder for Brian than for me.
Right. Yeah. Right. But really that's something that they're leveraging against you. It's what you have, all that you've ever had. The way they specifically bring us up, that's the similar for yours and for my ex-church, is that it's family, you have to worship a certain way. And then you have the church, and these are who you have. These are your friends. This is your family. This is kind of like your forever family. The people that you see in the church every day are also, at least that's how it was for us. You're going to see these in the ever after too. And that's a scary thought that what you've been used to the entirety of your life, you won't have anymore. And it kind of keeps you going back. It keeps you coming back.
I didn't know until I stopped going to church that there are actually some churches where people can speak up and disagree with the pastor, and
true.
They fire the pastor when they don't like what he's preaching. And I'm just,
oh my goodness.
There are churches where you can faithfully disagree. So not all churches are unhealthy in this manner. Some are very healthy, but the Mormon church
shouldn't have to be. I don't get why it needs to be. It shouldn't have to be unhealthy. I think you'll keep people around if you treat them better. Just like with if you're an employer and you treat your employees better, I think you're going to have a better quality kind of employee because they appreciate being respected. I don't know.
You know something? There is a little light of hope in all this conversation on this issue. You know that for almost my entire life until about a year ago, if you got married in the temple, if your parents weren't worthy, they didn't pay a full tithe and active in the church, they could not get a temple recommend. So they were unable to watch their son or daughter get married. I did this to my mother, to my shame. And even before I left the church, I knew that was a foolish move to not let my dear mother see me get married because of some church policy. Right. So harmful. But the church did back up on that one recently, and now you can get married outside of the temple and still have it. Have your mom come and see it, mom and dad, and still be worthy to go in the temple afterwards and get sealed. They didn't permit that until recently. So there is hope. The efforts we're making here, they are making policies, are slowly going in the correct direction. So there is change coming, and it's slow, a little at a time. So there is a difference.
Well, this is the kind of thing that's going to help gain momentum. Like what you're doing, this is exactly it. So why don't we move on? Why don't we move on to mental health professionals? So are there going to be mental health professionals there? Or what's that day about?
I've invited a few, if they're going to show up or not. I think on their part, there might be some fear there, if they show up and who are you to speak? And I mean, it could endanger their livelihood, and that's part of why we're having this conversation. There's a whole bunch of mental health professionals that are speaking, but the church, if they're active Mormon, they're being silenced right away. I knew a BYU Mormon college psychologist. He wrote a big article on why worthiness interviews are harmful. Right? This is a psychologist, and he's getting into the intimate details, the clear details of why. And guess what? That writing of his was removed immediately. He was threatened, and it was taken down. Another woman, she was out there teaching the truth about some of these things, mental health professional, and they ended up excommunicating her for teaching truths that her training taught her. And did you know that over 1,000 mental health professionals signed a document backing her, and many of them, a whole lot of them, were active Mormons.
That was Natasha Halford. She's a sex therapist.
Yes.
Wow.
That's
Good girl.
Yeah.
Or Dr. Ruth.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So over 1,000 mental health professionals, and many of them active Mormons, signed that what you're doing is inappropriate. It's because when you're tying, their truths that they've taught, and also their training and their experience, and they're not able to use that if it contrasts church policy. Here they are causing all this harm, and then they're tying the hands behind the back of the very people who could help heal this. This is unacceptable, and it is directly, contributing to suicides in the Mormon community. I apply this again to my situation. My son, his mental health went down and pretty fast, actually. I didn't have a whole lot of time to figure this out. It went down south very fast. But a couple of weeks before he died, I did sit down with him. And I talked to him. I asked him what was wrong. And, I apologized. I said, I don't know what I'm doing wrong as your dad, but I hope you'll forgive me. This conversation went on for a very long time. But what he needed at that time was a trained mental health professional. But the Mormon teachings they've attacked more mental health professionals for a very long time as a form of apostate religion. So, and although they do have a LDS Family Services, but these people are completely pigeonholed into Mormon teachings. They won't go outside of those. The ones who work directly for the church, but all others are titled a form of apostate religion. And this rang in my ears and in my mind, where here I have a son I know needs help. I'm trying to help him, and it's over a couple hours I talked to him, but I didn't go get him the professional help he needed because it's a form of apostate religion.
It's taboo.
they need to reverse course on that and say, look, there is some benefit here. And really all that matters is what is true, what is true. And the church leaders are not concerning themselves with what is true. They're concerning themselves with, I don't know what they're doing,
What's best for them.
What's best for them.
What's best for, what makes them money, what keeps them safe. Yeah.
You know what?
Brand.
What makes them look good and not look bad.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know what? There's another story, and this is an older story too. They've known for a very long time that what they're doing to these mental health professionals is resulting in teen suicides. Back in the early 80s, there was a young man. His name was Kip Ellison, and he was having problems with masturbation. And so his bishop told him to go to a mental health professional. Contrell Nelson was his name. And Contrell Nelson, a mental health professional, he knew that it was harmful, that what the church was teaching this young man, but he followed church instructions, and he told him to follow the bishop's instructions instead of telling him what he should have told him. And both the church and this psychologist got sued over this child's death.
Really?
Yeah. And
Awesome.
What finally came down, the ruling was the church was not liable because a bishop doesn't know better, which is true. He doesn't know better. But the psychologist did know better, so he was sued for a large settlement, and he lost. But the church doesn't know better, and a bishop doesn't know better. So, but yet they're going to keep giving these worthiness interviews, even though they that was their defense. The bishop didn't know better, but yeah, they're going to still have bishops give worthiness interviews.
Then you're not you shouldn't be in a position of power then.
Yeah, they tell the members from the podium, go to your bishop, go to your stake president. They're led by God. They have this discernment. And then in the courtroom, they say, and I have a quote from the Sins of Brother Curtis. I put it on my TikTok, but basically to expect butchers and accountants and doctors and dentists to be able to understand abuse is insane. It's not even logical. They argue that in court, yet they tell the members, go to your bishop. So they're double-tongued. And it infuriates me. Ugh. You
know what? This is not even fair to the bishops. A lot of these bishops are good men, and they believe they're doing God's work. They just don't even know the harm. They don't know what they don't know, the harm they're causing. They mean well, but sometimes good intentions is the path to hell,
Right. Paves the way.
These bishops are on that road, so it's not fair to them either to be asked to even give any interviews with no training. This is not effective.
Right. For those who are good men, to be put in those positions it's super uncomfortable. I'm sure it's super uncomfortable.
And if the excuse is, well, they're not trained, they didn't know any better. Okay, and what are you going to do about it?
Then why are they
continue to let them be untrained and not know what they're doing?
Even when they are trained, like my dad is a mental health professional and has been a bishop, a branch president, a high councilman, and I watched him fuck up people's lives. I mean, he liked to keep them dependent. I know this woman that I grew up in high school with her, and she was seeing my dad as the bishop and also for counseling. She still sees him now. This is just wrong.
Katie,
this guy's little tin God complex going on.
Katie, your dad is exactly why we're having this conversation. He is following the trail of only what the church accepts instead of following his training and experience. He's keeping his assistant, his therapy within the church boundaries, which for many people that's harmful. It's not safe. Your father's not safe, and that's why we're having this conversation.
Yep. Right. That's why it's important. So, is there also a protest on the 1st? Is that what I'm reading?
Yeah, that's general conference for the LDS Church every 6 months. They have all the come to Salt Lake, and it's a big conference center, and so that's part of why
coming up soon.
Yeah, it's part of why I've chose this week, because I'm hoping to have a conversation with some of these leaders. It's maybe a big wish, and but I'm going to wish anyways, a big hope, but I hope anyways. And my hope is that maybe some of these church leaders, while they're in Salt Lake for the week, maybe one of them will stop and talk to me we can get a conversation. Because, sitting and screaming at them and cussing at them, that's not going to be beneficial. It's not going to solve anything. What I'd like to have is a conversation with some of these leaders and bring their attorneys to the table and bring their mental health professionals to the table too, because I'm willing to have the conversation with any of them to find out what is true, because that's all that matters. That's why we chose this weekend. But during that week, they're going to have the big meeting, the general conference, and they're going to be one big meeting with all the top leaders. And while all the members of the church are going to that event, we'll be out there with some signs and trying to have a conversation there too, with the people themselves, with the Mormon people. These are our people. This is my people. I'm sixth generation Mormon. These are my cousins, my aunts, my friends. So I'm going to try to have a conversation, not to scream at them, but to have a conversation. That's all that matters, the truth.
Yeah.
I'm there for the survivors because I'm not as hopeful as Brian is.
She's not as hopeful, but
You don't know. You don't know who you're going to affect. And, just like they drum into Jehovah's Witnesses' head going door to door all the time, you never know at what point somebody's going to be ready to listen. And I mean, usually they're waiting for people to be vulnerable to listen to the Jehovah's Witnesses. But I'm hoping that people will just be moved by seeing other people and what they've been through to go, okay, maybe there's something here that I should there's no harm in listening. There is zero harm in just listening.
At the very least, they can't say they didn't know. The testimony that we're going to provide at that time is going to be to their damnation if they're too proud to listen to the message, the truth, that we're going to share with them. They're too proud to come and have a conversation. It's a power play on their part. That's not going to end well, ultimately, for them.
Right. No. Have you had any opposition to this? I had asked before if there was any press, but have you heard any opposition?
Well, personally? I don't think it's well publicized enough yet. I am going to be doing the press release over this weekend. We've already got it written up, and I just need to go and send it out to a few people, to a few press agencies. Often the press is supportive. Where we'll get the most contention really is the active members. I've been attacked so many times, an 8-year journey, and I've had so many active members attack me. But I'm okay with that. That just comes with the territory. But on the other hand, I've had a lot of active Mormons tell me privately, "We support what you're doing. Keep going." So I get both sides of that support and opposition. A lot of them know there's problems in the church, and they're glad that they can't do it because they'll be disfellowshipped or excommunicated. But for me, I'm already out of the church, so they're encouraging me here. So
and even if we get kicked off the sidewalk, Brian, we are going to be still yapping, right?
Because we're going to keep talking. Oh yeah, we're going to keep talking. No, we have a legal right to be on that sidewalk. We have a First Amendment right and a fourth. It's a freedom of religion. Jesus didn't go down the street to give a sermon. He went to the temple. He went to the heart of the leadership of the church. So this is my freedom of religion, to be in front of that building. It's going to be on the sidewalk. We're going to make a path for others to walk by, but that's my freedom of religion and my freedom of speech. So, if a police officer wants to challenge that, it's not going to end well for him. So we're going to be right there. We're going to be right where the church leaders can look out the window and they can see us. This is not
no denying. Right.
It's not going to work down the street.
There's a huge turnout.
We've chosen this location for a very specific reason. My target is church leaders. I want to have a conversation with them. We want to explore the truth with them. All they got to do is walk out the front door of their building, and there I am. So, there's no excuses.
I think this is amazing. I can't believe I'm just realizing this is happening. So I'm really excited I'm going to be tuning into the Facebook Live, and I'm hoping that there's going to be like some TikToks about it. Oh, do you have a hashtag?
Yes.
Because if you don't, I was going to say, if you don't have a hashtag, you really should, but I want to make sure I can search for the hashtag.
Protect Every Child Week. Hashtag Protect Every Child Week. So.
Okay. Yes.
If you go to my Facebook page, Brian.k.bresee, Brian, Bresee. I have two Facebook accounts. One is more of a personal one for just family. and the other one is more of an activist. So I'll find the one with me and my wife as activists and go to that one. And I've been making Facebook posts every day. I've been doing a message building up to this event. I've also been on TikTok as well, sharing the same messages. So if you want to see some of my messages building up to this event, you can go to TikTok and look up Brian.k.bresee, Brian.k.bresee, and you'll see a whole bunch of short videos, 3 minutes, 1 to 3 minute videos, sharing messages. So if you want to learn more about my message, you can go there as well.
Yeah, actually, that's a great idea. If you wouldn't mind, Katie, also, could you give your information so that way people know where to find you? Because I am, girl, you don't even know. I can't wait to see these TikTok videos. Yeah, no, this is going to be excellent. So could you give people your screen names? Where can they find you?
I'm all over the place because, when I first started looking at my apostate stuff, I was afraid I'd get caught. So I've got different names, different places.
Right.
Google
Same
stuff
here.
like YouTube and WordPress. I'm Oil Stories.
Oil Stories, right.
Mm-hmm. And TikTok, I'm Greenwich Spinach, as in the Dr. Seuss story, GRINITCH, and then spinach. And I tell a lot of my story, and unfortunately, in my particular case, there's second generation abuse. My children were also ecclesiastically abused, which, God, that makes me mad. And then on Reddit, I'm Zarephath's daughter. And that has a history to it. If you know about Zarephath in the Bible, a bunch of daughters wanted their land, but because they were women, they were told you can't have any. And so they went to the judges in Israel looking for their inheritance as women to their father's land. And so since my parents had no sons, I thought that was a good screening.
I love it. I love a good biblical name. There are some really good, and that's a great story attached to it. Powerful. I like that. And Brian, is there any other social that you want anybody to be aware? I know you mentioned your website, your Facebook.
There is.
Your Twitter?
Well, if anybody wants to give me an interview going into this event, or even after, any press or you can contact me at Brian.k.bresee, just as spelled out, at gmail.com is one of my email addresses. So I will be monitoring that email address for any requests for a few more interviews, maybe a meet interview or just a question. Send me a message directly there as well.
And I did want to say that the founder of Protect Every Child, Sam Young, is not able to be there. And so, Brian and I are both representing Protect Every Child. I am the admin at the Protect Every Child page. So either Jennifer or I would respond to any messages there. Jennifer Lamonis is the other admin. But that's basically how you can reach out.
Because people may have questions. They may just want to know. They may just want to make sure that this is, something that they might, could be some reporters want some information and do some story times, because I really hope, I really hope that this picks up some really good media attention.
One more time, Brian.k.bresee at if you have any questions or want to.
Oh, did I spell that wrong?
Pardon?
Sorry, did I spell that incorrectly?
No, it's correct.
Brian.k.bresee
at gmail.com.
Do I need the dots in there?
For the email, yeah.
Okay.
And we can put all this in post and whatnot too. Make sure that we have all the stuff in the
I've corrected it there.
Yes.
There we go. That's perfect. Yeah, we can add anything that we need.
Yeah, I'll put all the links in the show notes. And I'd like to get this out as soon as possible to people. So we're recording this on Friday.
We got 10 days.
We'll have it out tomorrow. So
sounds good.
If you're watching this, it's Saturday.
It's now. If you're watching this, it's right now. It's right. I am here right now, everybody. I am really proud to have an opportunity to talk to y'all. Really, this is exactly why Jonathan and I and everybody else that's kind of behind the scenes that's taken a part in Apostate Coalition, why we're here, because we do have voices, and every voice matters, every child matters every single day. And that's why just speaking up, we have no idea whose life we can affect, who will be able to see themselves in us. and feel more comfortable sharing, what the church has done that they should not be doing, what can be changed. This isn't stuff like written in stone. This is run by humans just like us who have an ability to rectify stuff.
Like the church environment, a much healthier place. There can be some good things there, but right now there's some problems.
Right. Faith and religion can be beautiful things. I see that there can be beauty inside of it, but this is the part. This is the heart of the bad stuff that
it is.
We need to get through. And protecting children is important. We have to put our pride aside, and we have to realize that there is a younger generation. And put yourself into how you felt. Remember how you felt, how you were uncomfortable, how you didn't like it. And every fiber of your being was telling you it wasn't right, but you weren't adult to be able to stand up for yourself. So now that you're that adult, think of how you felt as a child and just fix it.
Exactly.
To start to rectify stuff. We can do this. Again, every child, every voice matters. We just need to speak up.
Every voice really does.
It does. Sorry.
It really does matter, because you don't know what's going to affect someone's heart. So this little TikTok that you've done, or this video, or a blog post, or website, what have you, podcast, it could just be that one thing that affects them and gets them to go out there and affect change themselves.
People are being told that the church changes and there's more to go. And Jehovah's Witness too, right along with all.
Yeah, we're cousins for sure.
He is bringing fruits.
Yep, like you said, it's all about what's true. I like that. I hadn't really heard that before. I haven't heard that before, but I like exactly what you're saying, because it makes so much sense. It's about what's true.
True, exactly.
Yeah. Is there anything else? I think we'll probably wrap it up, unless there's anything else that you need to bring to the table, you want to make sure that you've covered, because this event is going to be monumental.
Yes. Thank you for welcoming Katie and myself on.
Thank you.
And we're gonna.
Yeah.
I'll be in New York next for the Jehovah headquarters.
Yeah.
That's Jonathan, honestly, we have to start talking about this, because I seriously think that would be amazing if we could all kind of like get the peoples together and join.
Absolutely.
And join forces next year in New York. That would be amazing. Yeah, I think we should do some talking now that we have each other's contact information. Talk about this.
Definitely.
Jonathan, is there anything that you want to close out with, or do you want me to close it out? You're captain here too, my friend.
Would you like to say the prayer?
Who would like to lead us in prayer?
Yeah. Just show support for this. Please, like we said, not everybody's going to be able to make it to Salt Lake City, but viewing it, talking about it, using that hashtag to Protect Every Child Week. Just keep that in the conversation. Mm-hmm. And also Apostate Coalition as well, because we want to promote that to get people together. So if you want to join in that fight, we're happy to have you too.
Start using that hashtag on our posts. That'd be good. So. Yeah,
like I said at the beginning of the show, this channel is hopefully at some point will be a hub for what I would love for a bunch of different religions, cults, whatever it might be, to just join forces, share, commiserate, because sometimes commiserating just feels good to know you're not alone, but also to encourage, really, honestly, 100% encourage change. That is what I would love to see happen with this channel, and be able to promote people like you two who are doing, like, this is really inspiring. It's really inspiring me to know that like this kind of thing can be done and change can happen. And it doesn't have to be like, sometimes it's just those little bricks that fall apart and then the floodgates open. You know, you don't know what's going to bring that flood just flowing through. So keep picking away and keep raising awareness, especially when it comes to children. There's no excuses. We have to protect them. That's what we're here for. We're stewards of this earth and protecting children.
Yep.
All right, y'all. Well, I'm going to wrap it up then. I am, again, like I have said, so thankful to have this opportunity to speak to two people who are going to blaze the trail. Really. I mean it. This is inspiring. This has really got my juices flowing. Oh no, we've lost.
Oh, no.
My juices scared off Brian.
Oh, there he is.
Oh no.
Brian, I thought I frightened you away. I'm so glad you made it back.
I'm still here. I came back.
Brian
And
just
even-
wanted to see
and
what
even
life
better.
was like on this side of the screen.
Oh yeah.
He was like, hold on, I don't like it on this. This is my best angle. You look
Yes.
good, Brian. It's okay. All right, y'all. I would like to thank our guests for taking their time to be here, for all the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears that I am sure have went into this huge event that is going to raise awareness. Yes. Thank you for joining me here tonight. And thank you, Jonathan, for hosting. Again, I'm Brian, and I'm sure we'll be seeing each other soon here on Apostate Coalition. Make sure you share, retweet, pay attention. Every Child Matters Week. It is going to
down there
be
somewhere.
an epic event. It's coming up in 10 days. It starts on the 26th, which is Monday. It's a 5-day event. Please pay attention. You tweeting and sharing and just discussing is also helping. Don't think that you don't matter. Just because you can't be there on the streets, just because you can't be there at the convention, you can do your part from your little old tookus sitting on your chair at the computer. You matter too. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Good night.
Thanks. Bye now.
It's about the things that we overcome. Tomorrow's a new day. I will find a way. What if this was your destiny? All that pain just so you could see everything you need is inside you.